Well, since Gen 8 has been over for like a year at this point, let's take a look at some Galar Pokemon. Obviously, like the Gen 6 video, I'm only going through 5 Pokemon in this one, so obviously there's quite a few Pokemon that aren't going to be in this video. So let's start off with one of my favorites, well, my number 5 favorite being Frostmoth. It's a bug ice type. Well, it's a giant moth Pokemon. That's reason enough for me to like it. But other than that, it was a pretty interesting Pokemon. Doesn't have the best stats or moveset, and it's kind of a giant pain to evolve considering it needs to be at max affection. But other than that, it's a pretty interesting Pokemon to use. Cool typing, even if it makes it 4 times weak to rock and fire. But overall, it's a fun Pokemon. Next up, I of course have Barraskewda. This was a Pokemon that I didn't really use in the Gen 8 games, but I ended up using in the Gen 9 games. And Barraskewda wasn't really my first choice, but the water types in Paldea really weren't that interesting in my opinion. So, Barraskewda was a cool Pokemon. Didn't have much expectations for it, but it turned out to be a very interesting Pokemon. I ended up thinking it was a water rock type, but no, turns out I was just wrong. It's a pure water type, and definitely has a lot of things going for it. Next up, I of course have Eldegoss. This was one of the Pokemon I was looking forward to using the most. As soon as Gossifleur was introduced, I knew it would be a interesting Pokemon. And I didn't play these games until like 3 years later. Yeah, it took a while to get a Switch, but Eldegoss was a fun Pokemon to use. Might not be my favorite grass type that's ever been introduced, but it's certainly one that I would love to use again in a future title. Next up, we of course have Corviknight. Again, Corviknight, well, Rookity was really nothing special. It was just another regional bird, but Corviknight kind of proved to be very useful throughout the game. It's a steel type and flying type Pokemon, and looks like one's a giant metallic bird, which is pretty cool. Learned some fun moves, and definitely is probably a little better than Skarmory, since Skarmory doesn't evolve, but time will tell who's the better steel flying Pokemon. And of course, my number 1 pick is of course Hatenna. This Pokemon was one that caught my eye early on due to its Pokedex entries, and well, it was just a cool Pokemon. It's a psychic type, learned some really good moves, and overall was a fun Pokemon to use. So, these are my favorite Pokemon from Galar. Obviously, this is excluding the starters, whom I've been excluding through all of these videos, because, well, it kind of would make the list too uneven. Overall, I really enjoyed these games, and I would love to return to them, even though they do have their flaws, such as the National Dex controversy, and of course the DLC just being okay in some parts. I thought Sun and Shield were some pretty fun games, and I'm hoping to see us return to Galar someday in the future, potentially. Obviously, I'll be wrapping up this little mini-series with my top favorite Gen 9 Pokemon, so stay tuned for that one, as I'll be, uploading it soon after this one. So, till then, goodbye. Thank you all for watching.